So you may not tell the joke.
Good morning.
Again, the kingdom of heaven, Matthew 13:47, is like a net, a drag net, that was thrown into the sea and gathered fish of every kind. When it was full, men drew it ashore and sat down and sorted the good into containers, but threw away the bad. So it will be at the end of the age. The angels will come out and separate the evil from the righteous and throw them into the fiery furnace. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Have you understood all of these things? But they said to him, Yes. And he said to them, Therefore every scribe who has been trained for the kingdom of heaven is like a master of a house, who brings out of his treasure what is new and what is old. Now I have a question for y'all. What's the purpose of him bringing old treasures out of his house?
So we can replace them with new ones?
No.
So we can share them with other people?
Yes, in part. Now, you have treasures both old and new. Some of us are designed to be experts in treasures both old and new. We take the new and the old and we use them to measure one against the other. And we take the plumb line and we use it to measure both the old and the new. There is still a time and a place for some old treasures and some new treasures. Not every new treasure has a new purpose. Some of it may have an old purpose, and some old treasures may have a new purpose. They may get repurposed. Our responsibility is to steward both, and our responsibility is to hear from those who are expert at stewarding both, curating both, and saying, hey, that's an old treasure and it still has use. Are you using it? Are you willing to use it? Because you have a whole lot of people that just says, oh, we just need to focus on the new thing that God is doing, the new move, the new this, the new that. Well, yeah, to a degree. But if Father has put old treasures that are valuable, and it's our job to unpack those old treasures for a new generation so that they can pick things up and so they can bend flow with an increase of tools and know when to pick up the old sledgehammer and when to use the new sawzall or whatever the case, we have access. And it's the job of the scribes of the kingdom, this office of the scribe, for the scribes to be respected and honored and revered so that we can receive from them and recognize them. Our responsibility is to minister life to the scribes so they can minister life to us from old and new. I think you have something that you're supposed to add, dear. So feel free to take it away.
I think I do too, but I've been having a problem getting words around it. Old treasure has a representation that I think we need to unpack as well. Kind of I think kind of like what you were saying with the revered and the time honored. There's not the tradition, because we have to be careful of the tradition, but we also don't want to disregard. We got to think about God as the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow and forever. The things he unpacked earlier on, or the things he revealed earlier on, the things he revealed later on, and the things that he revealed about the future are all the same for him, even though they're vastly different for us. Because everything that he has said and done is outside of time and on a completely different continuum, because he's not trapped in time. He's in the past, in the present, and in the future in ways we don't understand. And it is a concept that can be a little mind-bending and really important for us to remember. Because it's one of the ways that we can put God in too small a box. We can limit him, and we don't want to do that.
Yes.
And I think about like, and when you were first saying that, you know, you think saying bringing something out of his house that's an old treasure and something out of his house that's a new treasure. So if he had an old treasure, like this was passed down for 10 generations, this beautiful vase, we'll say, that for whatever reason had accumulated value, and this was an older treasure. So it may even have a crack line because of the age, but that makes it more respected. Where if you bought a new vase in the marketplace, and it was, you know, something that a master had just made and it was beautiful.
What's a vase?
Vase.
Vase for
Holds
holding flowers.
or something. And
VSE vase.
if he had brought in a new one, and it had been done by a master, and after a couple weeks it had gotten a crack, that would have been a sign of poor quality materials or poor marksmanship. So there's a difference. The crack here would be honored, and the crack here would be a dishonor. And so there's that dynamic as well. It's just there's a lot of different dynamics in the old and the new. Something for us to just kind of take that kaleidoscope, that prism, and do a little shift and go, oh, but if I shift it this way, what does that mean? And shift it this way, what does that mean? And that is something my wonderful husband has helped me unpack over the years. So.
Yeah. So these scribes are going to help you build out the old as well as look towards the new and prepare for the new. Now, one thing about these 7 parables is that we began with what the sower was doing, and we finish with what the fisherman will do. So you move chronologically from past into future. We also look at this from the perspective of prophet to mercy, where the prophet's sowing seed are principles. As they grow up, we can use them, the seed and the harvest, to weave things together. You know, when you're dealing with flax or cotton, it grows and then you can weave it into fabrics and shirts and pants and things of that nature, and garments, textiles. And then you have a different kind of weaving with the net, because the nets have to be mended after they've been broken. And the sailors, the fishermen, gather the fish, and they'll toss certain fish into the discard pile, so to speak. And there will be things at the end of the age where people who are not part of the kingdom will be tossed into outer darkness, unfortunately.
By their own choice.
By their own choice. And the fact of the matter is, this is not predestination, this is their own choice. And God doesn't always get what he wants. I know that may not sit well with some of y'all, and you might need to unpack that a little bit. The fact of the matter is, God doesn't always get what he wants.
It's true. Because he wants everyone to choose him, but he's not forcing anyone to choose him.
Just like parents don't always get what they want with their kids. So, gang, there are things that we need to consider deeply, that we need to prepare for deeply, and we need to walk in deeply and examine deeply. And my job here as a scribe in the kingdom is to help you deeply unpack things and deeply consider things and deeply walk in and execute. This is about the kingdom, which is a male giving, building, fighting kind of mindset. And I want you ready and prepared so you can walk in the fullness of everything Father has for y'all. So we bless y'all today with revelation and truth, the capacity to see the good from the bad, the capacity to make the distinction, and to use your drag nets and to sow your seed, and as you reap the harvest, to sow that into garments. Be blessed, gang. We love you. Bye-bye.